Today I'm going to show you a technique I use for when I'm preparing for a painting. I use Atelier Interactive acrylic paints made by Chroma, and the paper I use is Archer's 300 pound 640 gram rough watercolour paper. I use that one because it's less likely to cockle. Once I get it taped to the board, I'll start using the Atelier Interactive Raw Sienna Dark. This tints the paper for me. Other artists have different colours. Some prefer it white, some like to have it green, some like to have it blue. I've mixed the paint into a bowl. I'll put a little bit of water into it, and I've made it into a thin, creamy texture. This is important. Always mix more than what you need. If you mix it too dry, you're going to get a lot of streaks on the paper. But it's always best to use more than what you're going to need, because if anything, it'll work out better. Give it liberally all over the paper, all directions, broad strokes. I'm using a Stratford & York number 12 filbert brush. That's a nice soft brush for this. Work fairly quickly because under these lights they will go off fairly dry quickly. Now before that gets a chance to dry off, put the brush down, get some tissue. And then to start to either dab on the paper. This can give a nice textured leather effect. Some people might find that interesting for the background, for the painting. If you make this mixture too dry, you get streaks, and you'll find it going off too quickly. Then you're trying to get more paint all the time. This is just fine for what I need. And it's getting very dry now as it is. Leave it to dry, preferably for a couple of hours. Here we have the paint already dried on the paper. After you get to this stage, we're going to put it on the binding medium. But before I go to that, when you get the paper, there's likes of Archers or any Bockingford, there'll be a watermark. In this case, you'll find it on the bottom left-hand corner. And this is quarter imperial, and that's denoted by a straight edge over the top and down the side, right-hand side. By having the watermark on the bottom left, you'll see, that'll be the right side to paint on. And now when you get, and I'm just using an ordinary household brush, 1-inch brush for this. The binder medium, put plenty on, and just start brushing on up and down, liberally. You can do this for oil, by the way. Now once you get to the end, go across horizontally and just make sure that there's no dry paper showing. Okay, it's that simple, that quick. Once you leave this, now you should leave it overnight, preferably to dry off thoroughly. After you get the binder medium finished and it's nice and dry, you notice I've divided the paper up into thirds. Compositionally, you never stick anything directly in the middle. It's always to one side. I like to take a photograph into Photoshop and then do some adjustments and taking things out. I alter the colour slightly to give me some idea of how the finished work would look. And you see I've already divided that. Now into this stage I'm going to use that photograph to do a sketch for the final painting. I'm using just an ordinary B pencil. I'll start to work on that composition now. Keeping your lines fairly simple, don't go into any detail because you certainly will lose them as the painting develops. I'm going to put like a couple of posts in the front with a bit of a hedge showing there. That'll break that part where it goes down to the ground. When you're drawing or painting a tree, do like a stop and start. You go so far and change angles. That gives the branches look more realistic, look more old and gnarled. the hill in the background. You don't need to do too much drawing for this because you're going to lose most of it. The idea is this just to help your memory as you're painting. And put the old gate post there coming over. There's a bit of hedge coming down that way. There's another post over this way. There's a bit of a wall going up that way. Really, that's all. So you can, bit of a chance now, you can just go over, darken some of the lines up a bit. There's a fence coming through that way. Really, this is all you need for this stage of the painting. Now the composition is not bad. The eye gets led into it and out. This is in the upper quadrant of the rule of thirds, and you've got something here to help also the direction of the painting. Now, that's all you need at that stage. You don't need to go into too much detail, but saying it's, you can either go straight into paint over that with a dark umber, or you just leave it straight there and paint as you go. Now, I took this painting onto this fulfillment. As you can see, the painting, it's worked out nicely there in the proportions. The eye gets led into the picture on the top end of the rule of thirds. This is a painting done in Atelier Interactive Acrylics on Arches 300-pound watercolour paper. The painting took me 50 minutes to paint. This is the type of thing I do when I'm doing a demonstration in any art clubs, so you have to be fairly quick, and that's one of the reasons why I prepared everything beforehand, especially the staining, the binder medium and the drawing, and that gives me more time to work on the paints in the studio.